Hey guys, one of my subscribers asked me a question as to if they should start a business using Dave Ramsey's method or Grant Cardone's record. They're two completely different theories. I'll tell you what I think you should do. What's happening, guys? This is George Zapata from the Zapata Brand Podcast, and I'm going to answer a question that was given to me on my Facebook page by one of my subscribers. He asked me, would I consider opening up a business using the Dave Ramsey method or the Grant Cardone method? Now, first things first, I want to commend him. He was a young kid and he reads a lot, and that is very impressive that he knows both of them, because they're two very wildly different people, two very wildly different personalities. So I'm going to break it down a little bit and give my opinion. And this is not a solid concrete breakdown and this is what you should do, but it's just my experience that I've had. He asked me, and I'm going to answer to it as if I was having a cup of coffee with him here at Georgie Bagels. So let's go to the tail of the tape. You know, boxing, they always go to the tail of the tape. Here is the tail of the tape. Dave Ramsey is 64. Dave Ramsey is 64. Grant Cardone is 66. Wow. I thought Grant Cardone was younger. Okay, now, net worth. Dave Ramsey, allegedly, this is what it says, 200 million approximately is net worth. I don't buy that. I think it's a lot higher than that. Net worth for Grant Cardone, on the flip side, is 600 million. I tend to think it's a little less than that. I just don't know if he has that kind of money. What are their philosophies? Well, Dave Ramsey is the big no debt, and the biggest tool you have is your income. Now, the opposite is for Grant Cardone. He says leverage that debt. He uses debt to build most of his wealth. Where they gain their income from and their notoriety. Well, Dave Ramsey was a big radio guy back in the day, and now he has his own podcast, his own show, he has his own facilities, and also real estate. And he does do shows and events too, also on the side, to promote his theories and his strategies. But he also is a best-selling author, numerous books. He does also have a media company. Grant Cardone, real estate, and he's an influencer. He was one of the first out there on Instagram, Facebook, and he does do live events. He is so he basically sells his theories and his techniques and his selling techniques and what have you. And he is a best-selling author also. Now, their risk tolerance. This is a big one. Dave Ramsey's risk tolerance is extremely low. Someone who is not going to go out there and put his neck on the line for much. Now, Grant Cardone, total opposite. He is a high risk tolerance for him. And if you can handle that, that's the guy that you're going to follow. So there was a tail of the tape, and here's how I would look at it. Number one, I think this guy who asked me this question, and I apologize if I don't have it in front of me, what your age is. But I want to know what his age is. Like me, when I was 19, I came out to Berwick to open up the bagel shop. Had nothing to lose, zero to lose. So if I lost everything, I lose nothing, because there's nothing to get. I had zero. So my risk tolerance was extremely high. On the flip side, here I am, 48 years old, 2 children, married. There is a lot for me to lose. So I've got to be very, very careful of which path I take. It has to be very thought out, because I'm not going to take that risk, because I did it before, and I'm going to take you back. When I was just growing, when we were really growing, and I felt the business should expand more, we had to take on more debt. When I initially started, I had $400,000 in debt. Grabbed another $200,000 in debt. We expanded too fast, couldn't handle it, we failed. So that business failed. So it was $200,000 in debt on top of the $400,000 I had. The difference was I had debt initially, so my tolerance should have been lower. I didn't think that way. I thought, as an entrepreneur, let's make this risk high. I can handle it. Little did I know, I couldn't handle it. It all came crashing down. Now, the good news was I was young when it happened. I was before my 40s, so 38. That's still young at that time. So you're looking about it's more than that. So you're looking at about 32 I was at that time. So the risk tolerance was still rather low, I didn't have much responsibilities. I did have a girlfriend. I was not married at the time. I just think I maybe got married at the time to my first wife. And the tolerance was so low. We were out there doing our own thing. We can do those things because we didn't really have responsibilities of children and a home. We did have a house, but we didn't have that massive mortgage. We didn't have all that stuff. So the risk tolerance for that in that period was high. I was able to do that. And I realized very quickly that you have kids and you have your family and you get married and you have another kid, risk tolerance starts to get too much. You have to be very careful. So what happens then? Well, how do you grow? That is tough. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This has been 26, 27 years ago. I think it's about 28. 1996 when I was here. I'm going to tell you that it took this long to grow to where I'm at because there were so many mistakes and my risk tolerance was high. But I wanted to make it lower. And when that happens, the growth has to come from sales, not from expansion. You have to slowly but surely build every brick from the bottom up. Nobody looks at a big skyscraper and says, wow, look at that foundation. It looks awesome. No, they admire the windows and the way the landscaping is and all the stuff above the ground, above that foundation. They look at that and they think it's beautiful. But the reality is that the strength that building has is because of the foundation that it was built on. That's very important. I don't want that to be left just to the wayside. That foundation has to be built strong, and mine was not before I started to grow. And you're looking at probably only about 6 years that I started to grow. I think right around COVID. So you're looking 5 years only where it really started to grow. Now, there were some personal factors that happened in that situation that did cause me to stop the growth. But from that point on, I started to grow my business and I looked at the other things as to where I had to put them in place. So Grant Cardone's system works for some people, but it only works for few people. Very few. Very, very few. Dave Ramsey's philosophy works for everybody. It is a tried and true theory. The question's going to be, and this is your answer, not mine. The question to you that you would have to answer is, are you willing to take the time, or do you want to try to get it there faster? If you're young, you have some time to make mistakes if your risk tolerance is high. But if you're older and you have a low risk tolerance, go through the Dave Ramsey plan. It will work. It's worked for decades and decades. Nobody that I know has ever said they became a millionaire by their free MasterCard or Visa points from Visa and MasterCard. It doesn't work. Okay? But slowly but surely, everyone that I've met has built their business that is successful on finding out how low their risk tolerance can be. If you want to go to bed at night knowing that you have no debt and nobody can come take stuff away from you, Dave Ramsey's plan will work for you. Just as a matter of time. And you know what's funny is when you do the right things with your money, you seem to get blessed over and over and over again. You can give more. You can give your employees more money. You can take care of people. That's what happens. You can give back more. And I truly feel the reason why people who own their own business can be so generous is that the decisions they've made prior to this. I'm not knocking Cardone's philosophies. It works for him. He is an outlandish guy. He's very popular, extremely popular. Obviously, he's extremely successful. Way more successful than me, so I can't knock him for what he's done. But the majority of people can't do that. The majority of people cannot be that way. The majority of people can't be world champion boxers. It can't happen. It's only a very small percentage. I appreciate the grind that you're going through there. I appreciate the question that you've asked me, but I'm giving you my honest opinion. It is extremely difficult to own your own business and to grow it the Grant Cardone way. It is extremely hard. But if you do it the way Dave Ramsey has lined up and the way he has it set up, I know this for a fact. There's never been a foreclosure on a property that didn't have a mortgage. So if you're out there listening and you're listening to the podcast, I'm going to tell you, in this case, Dave Ramsey wins. In the very, very, very rare cases, Grant Cardone's theory wins. I am not a guy who's willing to risk what I've built. So at this point in my life, at 48, I'm going to stick with the Dave Ramsey way. If something came up that I felt that I could use, I could 10x my business maybe, I would need to be assured that it wouldn't put my family and what I've built at risk. I've done it before and it didn't work out for me. So that will never happen again. So that being said, don't be envious of what I've accomplished in my life. Be inspired by what you can do in yours. Thanks, and thanks for the questions. If anybody else has any questions, put them here in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them as soon as I can. Thanks.
Thanks for watching the Zapata Brand Podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and listen where all podcasts are available.